Welcome to LaTB, the only podcast that comes with a free Bandits bonus.
Express delivery included.
LaTB, where MMA and UFC get silly. This is the LaTB podcast.
Welcome back. Episode 240 for us here at LaTB. I'm Emmanuel. We got Cheney. What are we going to be doing today?
First, we're going to recap UFC Boston. We'll jump into the Twitterverse for a little while and see what gossip is going on in the MMA community. We will talk about the Fight Pick Championship. We know we might have some new listeners because of that battle royale.
Whoa, it's getting hot.
The main reason why you're all here is probably listening to the breakdown of UFC Singapore, Askren versus Damian Maia.
A grappler's delight. That one's going to be a juicy one all over the ground. But you know, as you're saying, we got to recap this Boston card. It was fun-filled. We had all sorts of finishes. And then starting off with Tanner Boser over Daniel Spitz. Spitz, again, as we were saying, low caliber type of striker, not a lot of volume, and Boser just got a unanimous decision. A lot of people saw it going that way. I don't really know what to say about either guy. They'll stay in for a while because it's the heavyweights, but moving forward, both of them I'm still going to be fairly tentative on. Do you have anything you even remember from this first fight of the night in Boston? The star-studded event we had?
No, I was a little nervous actually when it first started out that Spitz was, I'm going to don't do this to me, Spitz! Not that I really cared because I didn't have this fight anywhere. But he looked good for a minute, 2 minutes, and then drastically downhill. But what an enormous guy. What an enormous guy.
Absolutely, and looked better on the scale than he ever has. He just hasn't put any of it together, so somebody can't trust, again, Boser. Also, for the heavyweights, I just don't see the strides we're going to see like this coming up weekend we have here. But moving on to the 185-pounders, we had Brendan Allen come in as a big underdog over Kevin Holland. I know very few people were going with Allen, saying he did have the submission credentials, and Holland allowing himself to just get into bad spots and always relying on his squirreliness, his weaseliness to just get out of those positions, caught up to him here. Allen got a deep rear naked choke in, and that's all she wrote in the second round. 3 minutes, 38 seconds. Is Allen somebody to watch? Yeah, at 185. At the same time, Holland always does the craziest, most unthoughtful things where he, again, puts himself in a bad spot. So I like Allen moving forward. He definitely stepped up to the plate here. But Holland is one of those guys that he can't be this minus 300 type of favorite ever again. Because even against debuters, he just is like, yeah, get on my back. We'll see how I'll get you off. And all of a sudden he's like, oh, that's deep. That's deep.
So both guys are a little nerve-wracking going forward.
Definitely.
Kevin Holland, he's trying to make some sort of crazy statement when his skills are enough. If he just used a little bit of wits and smarts in there, it would behoove him. You're right. He puts himself in precarious situations. Every
single time. So then we had a 170-pound bout where we had Court McGee come in over the debuter Sean Brady in Boston. That should have been our first clue that Brady was going to get it done in there. Good gas tank. A good addition to the 170 pounds was Brady. I was hoping that veteranship, that little bit of that just octagon experience was going to come through for McGee, but he got put down 10-8 in that first round almost and pretty much hung on for the rest of it. He's just on the end of his career. I've been waiting to try to fade him. I haven't faded Court McGee because I always like that gas tank on most people, but that's not coming out anymore. When he gets blasted in the first round, that gas tank's out the window and he's just kind of zombieing out into position. So Court's going to be someone that probably won't be putting my money behind ever again. Brady, good step up. That was still a hard challenge. He's got anybody at that 170 pounds, and it's going to be a fun matchup for Brady. What'd you take away from that one?
Totally agree.
Then we
agree.
We had Randy Costa. Shout out Randy, 135 on Twitter, talking to your boy over here, getting on that Zol tonight. I offered him the fight, or I asked him what he thought about Teco Quinones for his next bout, and he was like, actually, that sounds like a good idea. And I totally agree. That would be a firefight.
Hashtag matchmaker.
In the house.
There should be a little Cupid with your face.
But he came in quick, fast, and in a hurry against Boston Salmon. Little bit worried about his chin, but he is the better fighter all the way around. Said that out of the two, the guy to likely finish could be Costa. I hedged my bets on some of my DK cards with Costa, and it worked out. Salmon, just someone you can't put any trust behind at all in there. I don't know how far Randy Costa, I don't know how big of a step up he needs, because there is still deficiencies that we didn't get to see just because he got him out of there so quickly. That gas tank, I would like to just see a couple more rounds out of it, but definitely a lot of fun fights for the young man, Randy Costa. This was one of those all Lozon, no Lozon picks. Started off the night, all Lozon.
Yeah, you should have gone all Zon. Boston Salmon's disappointing all the way around, and I don't think he's going to go very far in the UFC. So I will be betting against him in the future. I'm still a little tentative on Randy Costa because of how quick this happened. His cardio could affect him in the future, but I like what I saw. Definitely
someone to watch out for. At 145 pounds, we had an underdog coming through with Sean Woodson over Kyle Bochniak. I threw out a little bit of fun bets, didn't want to go through all of the crazy whatever. I just said, there's a couple guys I feel like really have an advantage, and it came through. I mean, it is a man on stilts in there, 6'3", 145 pounds. Woodson's going to be hard for anyone now that he's really started to change his takedown defense. He's always been a good striker, but his game's really coming through. Fun addition. Bochniak, that same style has been what he's been doing that entire time. And people are just starting to figure out, they're like, hey, if you just sit in front of me and keep your hands down and try to bob around, I'm just going to throw an uppercut at a knee, which Woodson did quite a few times. It was a fun showcasing fight for Woodson, but I can't get that ultra hyped as well because Bochniak is a moving forward type of punching bag in there in most of his
He's going to get so many more fights in the UFC.
Bochniak?
Because of his style. He makes a fight exciting.
He does.
But there is just this new wave of these skinny 145ers, tall AF, like giant bean poles coming through the UFC. I want to watch them all fight. The Zabits, the Sugar Shans, the Sean Woodsons. Like, this is interesting. This is very interesting.
Agree.
All these long, lanky, skinny dudes, but very frightening. It's almost like Bones Jones laid this
blueprint. Blueprint out in there. So definitely somebody to look out for in there.
Woodson. I loved everything I saw from Woodson, though.
The tape was
I really
good.
did.
That short notice win he did on 4 days.
Very exciting fighter.
Yeah, he's going to be someone to watch out for sure. It's going to be hard, though, I think, after that performance to get underdog money. Unless he takes a big step up in competition.
And no cardio, he had no cardio issues, though. That is the biggest step up, I think, just for everyone. All his haters were all saying cardio, and I'm like, I am impressed with everything that kid changed. Very exciting stuff.
Totally agreed. Moving on to a decision type of a bout, we had Meatball Molly McCann. You know our girl here. We love repping the Meatball. She definitely came in over the debuting Dania Batila. This was should have been a finish. After the fact, Meatball Molly came out and said that she was puking literally before and after this fight. Hence why she couldn't turn it on and didn't have that second level, because it did look like Meatball just kind of stayed in first gear the entire time.
Sometimes a fighter's on 40%. Sometimes a fighter is only on 40%.
Oh, 100%. 100% true.
100% true that sometimes a fighter's only on 40%.
But this was still DraftKings gold for Molly Meatball. She was the most expensive fighter, and it ended up cashing through. She was in that 40, 140 or 120 range? I can't even remember exactly, but it was definitely over that 100. Putting it on, I just think Dana is going to be somebody that against anybody I'm going to bet against. That's how low level I thought she was. So, a little bit disappointing. I don't know what to take about the throwing up situation for Meatball Molly, because if she does that against another fighter that's caliber,
I actually thought Diana might surprise you, the warrior princess, in a future fight. Molly is making these steps, and she is getting so much better still every fight for me. There's things I see that she's improved on, and even her body looks more and more like championship body every day from the first model. You can't call her a meatball anymore. She's totally a whole different person from that first fighter that we first saw. But I also think that the one thing I'd like to see her improve next isn't her skills at all. It's just don't fucking come in so emotional. That she has to separate a little bit. I get it. I know there's this, she's Scottish, the Scottish hungry. Is she Scottish?
No, I think she's British.
British. Sorry, Molly. We know she listens. But yeah, England.
Liverpool,
yeah.
My apologies.
Yeah, so I think British is English, right? Maybe. You don't want to get involved.
Yeah, I don't know about that, but I'm over here on this coast.
Anyway, I just would like her to be less... some of the energy I feel was unnecessarily wasted. Not to not sell the fight, but just too close to octagon time. Too close to go time.
Definitely.
Sorry, that was long.
Moving on to 148 pounds. This was a catchweight bout. We had Manny Bermudez actually showing in heavy for a bout that the UFC made him move up in weight for. We said that was going to play a factor. I actually went in a little deeper on Bermudez because I was like, this cheating-ass cheater is going to take an extra 3 pounds on top of that. He didn't even hurt himself. This is why we like these guys to do it this type of way. If they do, is already come in a couple pounds. So ended up going steeper on Bermudez, thinking he was going to have a big size advantage. And Rosas, got it done quick, fast, and in a hurry. He used a little extra leverage in the cage there. There was some controversy out there. It was a finish, regardless. The ref didn't see it. It was called a submission, so he got an extra 20%. And did Rosas actually get an extra 50 grand for the submission? Performance of the night?
I think he did get a performance of the night.
So Dana really rubbing it into Manny, but what do we do with Bermudez here? Because this is a habitual weight misser. This is a John Lineker-esque, where John Lineker quickly was like, let me go UFC. And they're like, Deuce is like, we didn't know, dude. You don't even make weight.
How tall is Manny?
He's up 5'10", 5'11".
If he's tall enough of a guy, move up, dude. Move up.
Even more?
For me, if they miss, they go up. And I don't even remember, I don't want to steal someone's thing, but I like that. And they have to fight at least 2 fights up there before they even get in talks to move back down.
Right.
That's what you lose by having to do that. Because it's against the rules. You're getting an advantage. We don't let them do PEDs in there.
We don't. We will get there. But it was definitely controversial. I don't like what I see from Bermudez anywhere. That was a really tight little armbar. It was really short. The black belt on the ground, Rosas really showed it off there.
It's easy to get tight when your toes in the cage. Tight.
Would you say toe in the cage nullifies 3 extra pounds?
Karma is real, and one good, you say if you're not cheating, you're not trying, with the eye pokes and the dick kicks. And hey, we're going to talk about that again later in the night too, where it actually paid off. It behooved someone for the eye poke all the way around. And we'll talk about that later in the night. But yeah, so I guess if it's part of the sport, and if they're not taking points right away for this kind of stuff, and if they're not overturning fights for this kind of stuff, then,
Definitely.
Yeah, no.
It's the way the sport goes. Then we went on to a dirty-ass split. If you were listening, you heard that I had Stewart from the get-go. Thought it could have even been a finish for him. Not actually in the fight. That was my prediction. But it ended up going to a dirty split. Honestly, if this would have went to Darian Wynn, I wouldn't have been angry. This was that close of a fight in there. But Wynn also, talking about not trying or cheating, came in 3 pounds heavy. I actually also said, if there's someone who might not make it, it's Wynn, because even though he's 5'5", he's thick. He's thick. He'll make Mackenzie Dern jealous. He's that thick. The man's definitely got other issues in the background that he has to take care of. And not only is it the first time he's missed weight, that for a wrestler of his caliber, probably's got to make him feel like shit. Then he comes up losing. So it's like double whammy. Kick them while they're down. But definitely, Stewart had really changed his game. That takedown defense that I was talking about showed up in the fight. And once it stayed striking, Darren Stewart was the better striker. But the pressure forward did go to win. So again, either way, I'm not going to be mad at who won that fight.
I'm not either, but if Darren can't get his weight under control, there's nowhere else for his big ass to go. His nickname should be Meatball.
That's awesome.
Seriously, homeboy is a square. Homeboy is a square. I like his skills because I think Darren Stewart's a real dangerous guy, and they nullified each other a little bit, where the other is usually really dangerous against some opponents. But Darren Wynn, what you gonna do if you can't get your weight under control at your height? Like, come on, you can't go up. What are you gonna fight 205ers?
That's what he fought in Spicy.
He's all coming in, his whole fucking Tyrion Lannister ass. Tyrion Meatball Lannister, come on!
Guys are fucking humongous, still at 185 or
oh my gosh, I'm sure his back is broader than this.
Yeah, table right here. Yeah, truth. He is a wide guy in there. But definitely moving forward, Wynn still has fights that he can win. And Stewart, sneaky guy against wrestlers that I think a lot of people are going to be surprised what he does as we go along in his career. Moving on to 125 pounds, we had the call out come through. We had Jillian Roberts saying that she wanted Macy Barber. Macy Barber only has eyes for PVZ. Everybody knows that. And she ended up finishing in a standing TKO, which here on the fight picks, because this actually gets into our fight picks, I specifically picked TKO, not KO, and that happened. I don't get extra points, I'm just saying. Conspiracy afoot.
Brutal. This was the moment that I realized in my whole entire fight pick game, where most of the time I lose a pick, is because I can't make an emotional pick anymore. Like, I don't want to have to say how much I love another fighter because of certain picks I'm going to make. But this is one of those fights where everything in my whole brain, like I had Macy Barber on cards, but my emotional pick of Jillian, it doesn't take away how much I like her, how much I think she's going to be a dangerous threat, how great I think she's going to be in this division. I can still say those things and still be like, Macy Barber's going to knock ass out.
Agreed.
This is where, but Macy Barber is the future, and everything that she has going on, she is a very dangerous woman in the 125. Calling out PVZ though, that's not what you don't say, we're the greatest army in the world. Bring it, Jamaica.
Agreed.
You know, like, I don't know. It just seems like Russian dominance or whatever country, you're going to be like this kind of dominance and pick on some little small country. Like PVZ, she's over there with her like 17th arm surgery. I want to be like that Britney. Leave PVZ alone. Just leave her alone.
She's doing her thing, taking booty shots on Instagram, making way more money. Well, why is she going to come back to fight a monster
I
like
think she
you?
could call out a Claudia Gadelia.
Yeah, that would be a great fight.
I think she can call out somebody like that,
fight.
and I think she's going to very quickly go through some hot-ass little fights through there.
Definitely. Something that I found out after the fact, Macy Barber changing her entire fight camp to go train with Ben Askren, moving to Ben Askren's compound, essentially, being a part of that team. So, stifling up that wrestling game. If people can't take her down, they're going to get 8-9 punch combinations.
Oh my gosh, with those elbows. She has some of the most brutal elbows I've ever seen.
We talked about that before in many of our other fights. What I got to criticize a bit with Macy Barber is the fact that when she gets in these 7-8 punch combinations sometimes, a good counter striker like JJ Aldridge, who did land that counter left, she blocked 4 of those shots and then threw her. So somebody that's a good counter striker, a Holly Holm-esque type of fighter, is going to catch Macy Barber in some of these really wild exchanges. But definitely the future, definitely someone to watch out for in there. Make better call-outs than PVZ, girl. Come on. You're punching down at that point.
I feel like Claudia Gadelia, she could...
Andrade even, but that's too high.
Felice Herring? That's a perfect fight. That's a good name. Like,
even the Cookie Monster. Let's go, girl. Bring one of those two hooligans in there.
She's sneaky, though. She'll F you up and do some dirty grind.
Wrestling. But that's where I'm saying Macy Barber's been going with
Maybe Atisha Torres. Maybe a Tisha Torres. Claudia's
Is
a
the
little.
name.
She's under. Or
Torres
Carla's is underrated. Carla, it will mess up your night with a dirty ass split.
I've been betting on
I know
Carla,
we're on
dude.
Carla over here.
We are the Cookie Monster fans
you
out here. Everybody knows that.
But I like what I saw from Macy. I even like her. It's, dare I say, she has that Ronda-esque personality.
Yes.
A little grating,
A
a
little
little
abrasive.
biased. I don't mind it though. I don't. It's.
You need
I
to have
like,
that confidence in this sport.
Yeah.
Have to. Absolutely have to in there. So Jillian Roberts, specifically, if she has matchups where people have any type of deficiency with their takedown defense or ground game, someone to bet on. But if you're going to be good takedown defense and a good striker, that's just her kryptonite as far as what I see in her game plan right now.
She needs to go to a heavy striking camp. I want to see Jillian and Robertson. Really, I think she can do a straight up the middle elbow with her style, because then if she would make people question on whether or not she's going to go in for a takedown. I would also like to see her work on some kicks, keeping these people at bay that have heavier hands, like a maybe Macy Barber in the future. But I still like Jillian Robertson going forward, and I want to see her get some of these name brand fights, these big names. Not that Macy Barber isn't. I think she's hot shit. She's hot shit on a cold platter. Mm-mm.
I agree. Roberts has many fights to win in the UFC still in her career. Someone who may not have too many fights to win in the UFC is Joe Lauzon. The other side of that, all Lauzon, no Lauzon. It was all Lauzon this week. Pierce, being a heavy favorite, being a debuter, came in, should have just ran through him, but Lauzon stayed right in his face, got on him, put in that half Nelson, ripped that shoulder back. That could have been a submission in itself. TKO, round number 1. I don't know too many people that predicted it other than Hart, people that lived in town. They were like throwing all their money at it, but as far as betting wise, I feel like most people had Pearson. It was interesting that Dana White came out afterwards, where the first rule of UFC is never trust Dana White. He came out and said we had a agreement that he was going to retire, win or lose in this, which we said as well. Joe,
you're home in your hometown. It doesn't get much better than this.
And don't come back and say maybe, maybe not, because when you retire on Twitter later on, nobody makes a deal about it, and it sucks. You could have got a standing ovation on your way out.
You haven't won a fight in a decade, dude.
It was just the wrongest form. It is. What do you think about it? Do you think that he should get another fight in the UFC?
Yeah, as long as he wants one, he's still J-Lo. He's still he's still doing the right things. I have Jonathan Pierce to win, knock him out in round 2. And Lauzon went out there, and I thought his only chance would be submission. I just pictured like maybe a head and arm choke or some guillotine weird thing. I did not see that shit coming at all. So I guess maybe just take a little time in between.
He didn't. I don't think he ate a punch. Maybe 1 or 2 punches.
No. I don't mean necessarily this, but maybe just in fights in general. Maybe if he's one of those dudes that takes it once every 8 months. Year.
Right.
He's still a name.
He's still a name. I would like you to step away. Of course,
too,
I'll watch you. I'll watch you if you get in there, but it's going to be hard for me to still be putting money on Lauzon moving forward.
It will be.
So, then we go to Inhalegate. This is one of the weirdest situations I've ever seen in the UFC. We had Dean Thomas.
I wish you could look back to the minute, because LaTB was #InhalerGate before anyone.
Everybody. It was definitely LaTB all the way. We knew what was coming down the pipeline. I was surprised that they did automatically.
We were like Sharon Stone on Basic Instinct. Yeah.
So, Hardy coming in with in the 3rd round, between the 2nd and 3rd round, Dean Thomas, Greg Hardy asks the corner, not even officiate on the watcher, to make sure that the rules are enforced and he's not greasing. They ask him, can I use my inhaler? And he's like, what? And he's like, it's used out of proof, don't worry about it. Inhales. The guy's like, okay, whatever. Mark Ratner gets on the mic immediately after in the 3rd round and is like, that's illegal by all forms. When Ratner said that, I was honestly surprised that he didn't go around to every judge and the ref and say, bout's over. Like, Sisoli shouldn't be fighting this opponent right now. He has taken something to help him in the fight. We have somebody who's in the medical field that was watching the fights with us telling us that dilates your capillaries. That expands your lungs. That is definitely a helper to someone. And guess what? If you need an inhaler during a fight, you can't fight. You can't pass medicals. Like, you're not That doesn't work. So I'm pretty sure everybody's in that boat. What did you think should have happened during the live reaction?
Everybody's going to hate it, but if the guy told you it's okay, it sucks. He should get in trouble, not you. If you asked, hey, is this allowed? Is that the same as a toe in the cage or 3 pounds?
Interesting point. I love it.
Saying,
I like it. I like it. That's what we have here.
I'm just saying, I'm trying to, give everyone a second shot and whatever, and Hardy didn't look great out there anyway. Anywho, but I think that somebody told him that was the boss of the ring. Whoever was in charge of that. I don't know who he should have asked, but whoever said he's okay should have lost they should have had a fine. He shouldn't have lost his win.
He got a no contest. This did end up going to a decision against Ben Sassoli, the Combat Wombat in there. And Hardy showed facets to his game that he can actually put a game plan together, not just throw heavy strikes. Wombat showed he's got a chin in there. I think Wombat's going to have fights to win at heavyweight. Hardy already booking it, turning it around within 18 days. He's fighting Alexander Volkanovski. Not Volkanovski. Is it Volkanovski? Volkov. There we go. Volkov is definitely coming off of
18 days. In 18 days.
With an inhaler. That ain't going to get any better. You ain't going to get on a vegetarian diet that's going to fix that.
Maybe he doesn't even need it. If somebody told you it's okay to hit an inhaler, your corner would just be thinking, shit, if I would have known, I would have brought my inhaler today.
Very
maybe
true.
It was just extra, like, oh, I can hit the inhaler? Cool motherfucking schmool.
So that's going to be a 5-rounder in there from what we just saw in the 3 rounds. Oh, putting all sorts of money all over Volkov. Get that cash money deep, fast, and in a hurry. I do got to always say there is the potential, just like Derek Lewis, where Volk could be winning 4 minutes and 59 seconds of that bout and then eat a freaking overhand right, because Hardy has that. So we will be breaking that down sooner rather than later from what it sounds like.
Pretty crazy shit. Pretty crazy shit.
Then we ended up having the co-main event moving from 5 rounds all the way down to 3. We had Eye Poke Gate in Mexico City. All sorts of pesos beers being thrown all over the place. Jeremy Stevens losing a decision. It could have been
it's never been 5 since it was rebooked, right? The fight. It was always 3 since the rebooking.
Correct, okay. Correct. But it was, I'm talking about the first eye poke.
In Mexico City, yes.
Right, we didn't get to see it. It was seconds in that we saw that eye poke. We finally got 3 full rounds in here. Could have been stopped in that second round. Definitely a 10-8 round for Yair Rodriguez in there. Was it the second or first? Either way, Jeremy Stevens hurt hard to the body, a lot like what Aldo did. Yair, though, ended up gassing, trying to finish Jeremy Stevens off. Stevens fighting that single leg, showing enough that he was in it. And then in that third round, people are saying it was 10-8 Jeremy Stevens. It was not 10-8. It was a 10-9 round Jeremy Stevens. He needed to get a finish in there. I was actually surprised that he tried to ground and pound it. I would have thought Stevens would have kept swinging with all that shit talking he was saying with, if he ain't dead, it's not worth it. All this kind of talk. So he wasn't throwing like that after that body shot. They seem to have made up immediately in the ring, immediately in the cage afterwards, shaking hands and squashing the beef. What'd you take away from this co-main event?
Yair, with the exception of that cardio, he just didn't have... He has some real dangerous things going on with his legs. Like what he put together with the body, which can be great for him, especially with managing his cardio in the future, because he can keep someone at bay long enough to regain his breath because he's dangerous as fuck. He needs to manage that better, and don't go for the finish like that at the end of the round and be all sloppy and be all bent. You're just putting yourself out. They're not going to stop a fight for that. Like, he's just throwing his body at the end of that, so he's just wasting this really precious energy that... I think that's kind of ring IQ, where you kind of know if you can't get the finish, that reserve that. You know you have this round. You know you have a comfortable 10-8 probably in this round. Maybe even a 10-7, depending on how the judges are going with it. Jeremy Stevens turtled up. But I think Yair, by the end of the second, he's totally cashed. Jeremy comes on strong in the third. that eye poke saved Yair Rodriguez because Jeremy Stevens' veteranship would have gotten him a 4th and 5th, and he would have won that decision. If it was already getting that close, there was the time by the end that Yair was just turtled up on the ground. So.
Exactly. Definitely benefited.
I would love to see that. It doesn't have to be anytime soon, but I'd love to see it again still at 5 at a main event in life. If Yair is not on this upward trajectory that we never meet Stevens again.
Well, that's what I was going to say. Stevens has been fighting for a long time and is over that, 32, 33 year mark, maybe in the 34 range. So I don't know if there's enough time for it to go back again with so many other willing competitors in there. They have
especially
multiple
at 145.
fights.
Even that we've just been talking about on this. Bob Ross, frickin' Woodson, all the other long
murderers.
dudes. Yair's kind of one of those long, dangerous 145ers, and I liked everything I saw from him. Actually, like I want to be a hater, but I even liked his sportsmanship afterward. Jeremy wanted to walk away all like kick and can, and Yair was like, "No, let's squash it." You can kind of see that action in the cage. So I'm a fan of both guys, and I want that stuff to not blind me either going forward. Like, I like both guys, and I like heels. I even like a turn heel. If Yair wants to turn heel and become super prick, I'm okay with that too.
You gotta have favorites and you gotta have villains. That makes it all better.
Jeremy's still dangerous going forward. Yair's still dangerous going forward. Don't be surprised if both guys aren't underdogs in their next fights.
I don't know about if Yair is. I could see Stevens for sure, though. Yair's got that.
What about if Yair fights Zabit?
Zabit's got a fight coming up real quick, but I think he's an underdog. He's an underdog to Zabit. That's right. You're right on that. Definitely right on that. But that's because they have history of maybe a little bit of Duck City in there going on.
Duck City! We
had somebody who should have ducked this fight. Chris Weidman moving up to 205
I thought you were going to say, should have ducked a punch.
It's true, he should have ducked that punch. It was a good straight counter left off of the back foot for Reyes. He got it done quick, fast, and in a hurry. Minute 43 seconds into the first. As you were saying, picking with my heart has never let me down so much. This was one of those hard picks. Chris Weidman, you handsome bastard. You did it to me again. It's gotta be a constant
all-American motherfucker.
So, he's definitely one of those guys that it's just time. It is time. He cannot take a punch. It was the follow-up on the ground. He was completely out. He didn't wear the damage because there wasn't much to be had there, but he can't be at 85. He won't make it 205.
This is not gonna give me a bunch of love either, but I feel like he's a big enough name to also fight for BMF style fights, where he could fight a Luke Rockhold, an Anderson Silva. I think I would like to call this new league of UFC relic fights.
Legendary fights. Vitor Belfort we talked about this a year ago, 2 years ago.
No, but I think the UFC should actually just have a fight where they just, it kind of is a BMF style. You don't have to put a belt on everything, but everyone knows. Aren't you curious about like an Anderson Silva Weidman now?
Legends Fight League, like a league within a league.
Yeah, I think that there are some Luke Rockhold Weidman too. I'm okay with
at 205, right?
Yoel Romero can go over there and wreck shop.
He can fight them both at the same time. That's the type of fight.
Same night.
Tournament style. That would be dope.
I thought it was definitely something interesting.
So where do we go with Reyes here? I don't think it puts too much shine on him just because, again, we had Weidman moving up. It really only benefited Chris Weidman in this spot because he was moving up where he could have injected himself right into 205 by getting a win in there. But the fact that it was just so quick can't take much away from Reyes other than he has power against 85ers and he's a real 205er in there that cuts, unlike Weidman. Hopefully he takes a step away from here. Reyes, what I most took away from the weekend is, I don't know how I feel about him and the Schmo being so buddy-buddy. Him and the Schmo wearing the exact same outfits all week long, which he alluded to afterwards in his post-fight press conference. Did you catch any of that?
I don't like that. I can't get down with the Schmo. I just don't like but whatever gets you seen. If you're making a living being the Schmo, homie, good on you.
Well, if you're the Schmo's doppelganger, though.
I think he should lean into the Hunter S. Thompson vibe even a little harder and get a sponsorship from some kind of Puma, Adidas, some kind of company like that, and start wearing jogging suits. Like, I think he should just full on jogging suits, Puma hats, whatever. Like, lean into a company like that, yellow sunglasses, or lean into a tailor that's in a big city wherever he's closest to, and let the tailor make his suits, and somebody that has mail in order. I think there's a way for that guy to get apparel, because he is kind of, I don't know how many followers he has, but I'm sure a shit ton.
Starting to get there. He's definitely made a name for himself in the UFC, being a contender.
That's my marketing advice to the schmo. Obviously, he doesn't need it. He's the schmo, and we're talking about him.
He's got press credentials.
They talking about the schmo. So Twitterverse talk.
So that was Boston in a nutshell. Where do we get him? I mean, it's only Anderson or Cannonier I actually really like. Cannonier's the fight for Reyes.
Cannonier's at 185.
Oh, he did go down.
Yeah.
Damn it.
He's 205. At 185.
People who have fights open.
Yeah, 205, maybe.
He's calling John Jones, and that's it. That's what Reyes wants. I think he kind of
deserves the John Jones fight. Johnny Walker has a fight coming up anyway. I think that's the obvious fight. I think that's what John Jones should do, and he might even be able to squeeze it in before the end of the year, because Dominic took like 0 damage. So
exactly. There. I think he could squeeze one out. That's a
Christmas card. Squeeze one out
before the year's out. Definitely.
So Twitterverse talk.
On the Twitterverse, we ended up having all sorts of headlines being made. We had Johnny Bones Jones, as we were just saying, at 205, coming out against Tony Ferguson. Did you see their little back and forth they had? Ferg saying, hey, JBJ, let's have an exhibition route so I can show him what I did to you in high school. And JBJ's like, what, dude? What are you talking about? Are you having suicidal issues? And then he deleted that post in traditional JBJ style. John Bones Jones showing again that heelness.
Johnny Bones, I don't even know. He's always a heel, and he's just he could have just got something started with Tony. He's fighting with he's fighting without Adesanya. You might as well make arguments that
Tony's the one who kind of got the ball rolling.
No, that's what I mean. He could have played along. There's no reason.
Right. And or even just been like, it's good, homie, you're 155er. Like, we're good. Yeah. Have fun. Like, dismiss it.
Yeah, sorry, I had a growth spurt since then.
Yeah. Don't be a douchebag and be like, oh, your mental health issues. So, again, Johnny Bones Jones always playing it wrong.
Always with the bad form.
In there. Someone else with the bad form in there, Conor McGruber. Ended up going to Russia. He's going to have some sort of a press conference that I shouldn't even be talking about on here, but he still somewhat makes headlines. But I've been watching a little bit of tape, and he's out there having all sorts of drinks, handing out shots, showing his little hot bottles all over the place. I think he needs to be more worried about international tribunals, because there's a secondary accuser coming out there, if you know what I'm talking about. He actually supposedly tried to pay off the secondary accuser. So there is now a secondary woman who's saying she has his baby, and he supposedly is going to tried to pay her $1 million. And she's like, fuck that, you own proper $12 million ain't shit, buddy.
I thought there was a second allegation that he raped another woman.
And there's a baby from it.
Both of them? He impregnated them with rapes?
That's what I feel like I heard.
I didn't hear anything about a second baby, but I did hear about the rape allegations, and all along at the exact same time that it was all released about the Frankie Edgar fight. And I thought that was like, come on, you guys, get off the Frankie Edgar fight. It's not fucking happening. Horrible. He's only doing it to try to get any attention away from raping another woman in the first allegation. And in Ireland, they can't release anything until the investigation's done. They don't release the name of anyone yet, so it's just another sports star.
And these are on their local tabloids. It's coming out, that high level sports athlete, and they're like, hint hint, it's a guy who fights in the cage. And you're like, oh, I wonder who that is. So
unless they're like, that's our number one seller, it's just the tabloids. But I think it's fishy. Is he big enough for the UFC to work with him even if he's a sex offender?
It's really weird because, money is the main driving factor behind it, and he's one of the highest rated guys of all time. You can never take that away from him. So he brings in the money regardless of what he's doing out there. So I think they still do dirty business. UFC's known to do dirty pool. They don't give two shits. It's all about the paychecks. If you can fill out an arena at the freaking $130 door level price, they will put you as the main event. All those other things are allegations. Other allegations have been hearing about supposed misconducts was Ali Abdelaziz coming through, Colby Covington being on the horn saying that Ali actually sexually assaulted UFC staff and they're trying to cover it. Did you hear any of these allegations?
I did, and damn, homie. Like, here comes more. We'll see. We'll see what happens.
Not only that, Ali Abdelaziz also
Gross, but it doesn't surprise me.
Not surprised. Totally agree. But Ali here also in the same week having not even allegations, having an actual assault charge posted from the Las Vegas police reports. Ali posting improper documents because that is public knowledge, and he's writing down other fighters' addresses for his own legal residence. This is a guy who's already been in all sorts of legal issues, so UFC's willing to work with this guy.
They have to. He has more fighters than any other manager in the entire UFC.
Money.
And if you look at the fighters on his, like, it's not just Khabib, it's not just Kelvin Gastelum, it's not just Henry Cejudo, it's not just Kamaru Usman, if you look at his, it's like 200 fighters, and you know, like, 70% of them by name, even if you're medium core.
Right? True. Not a casual. Not le casual.
Not le casual.
So, definitely really grimy, dirty ass stuff going on in the background right now. Stuff to be watching out for. It is just what a day and age we live in the UFC right now. How our sport is evolving every single day. It's fascinating in the background. Anything left with Twitterverse stuff, there's always more. We can always bring it up.
I did want to throw back real fast and we can move on about the Aspen Ladd overturning of it because it might be sexist because she's a woman. And I kind of alluded like, girl, you lost that fight. Like, GDR was about to beat your ass. I think that, but I also do think there is a problem with men stopping the fight sooner because they're like, a lady can't take that.
Are you saying that because of that Jeremy Stevens fight? Because it could have been stopped at time.
I mean, there's a lot of the fights by the dudes that you're like, all right, it's over. Stop it.
Gifford.
But a girl, it's like, you know, one brutal hit. And it's like, so I do think there is a little to it. Not that she wouldn't have lost it, but it was stopped sooner because I think she's a woman. And she's like, was the cuter, smaller of the girls as well. I think her looks almost didn't behoove her in that fight. Anyway, I just wanted to throw back to it because I know we talked about it before a little bit, but I just...
So there could be a thread in there, but does it make it right or wrong?
Yeah, I think there needs to be... just the same across the board. Whatever amount of fight punches that somebody takes that they call it in their brain, or if somebody's really knocked out where their eyes roll back into their head, do they get knocked out 3 times?
Right.
Like, you know, it should just be the same across the board because we say sometimes we yell at the refs for how long they let it go.
Sure.
So I do see both sides, but that wasn't quite to that extent.
And I would just say my quick fix is obviously you got to just really get these refs up to snuff to understand the positions they're seeing, and they should also be positioning themselves at all times to try to be in the best position. That's just Reffin 101, I would think. But hey, we've seen egregious stuff in there, especially as of late with as much as we've been going all around the world. And yeah. We been player hating.
So, speaking of player hating, I think it's a perfect time to talk about the Fight Pick Championship. Maybe we'll make a real good song one day. Yeah, but the shit talking's getting more intense, which is always fun.
Agreed.
It's kind of like a dream fantasy football league, but about fights. This is what we've always wanted. It's kind of a little dream.
True.
And a little group. I was thinking what we should do is, I don't know if all these guys are on DraftKings, but we should start we can all throw in $1 and put our best card up. Just sidebar.
Sure.
Side bet.
Sure. I wonder if they do allow tournaments like that.
I think you can't make your own groups. People invite me for shit all the time.
Very, very true. We can make that pretty big and even involve the entire community.
Yeah. Maybe the community, but maybe it's a way that if we were going to expand it, because I know people have been saying they wanted to get involved. It could be a way we expand it without messing with the OG tournament.
Well, this initial season. This season might be a little locked in. Then again, I'm not the moderator.
Yeah, who are we?
So we'll see how that eventually goes down.
Speaking of, let me stop clicking the pen, getting all upset. So, Juice won.
Woo! Fighting with myself podcast.
Yeah, he
got it done
with 60 points, and then followed by Alpha. Which, if you guys don't, even if you're not into WWE type wrestling, he's pretty clever. I'm really stunned that I thought he'd be in the tens of thousands of followers. He's entertains me. He entertains me. So I really liked him, but he talked mad smackdown to everyone and called MMA marks MMA farts, and that made me laugh out loud.
That was a pretty good one.
And Juice won, and he said that he looked like Roxanne Modafferi. So if you are on Twitter and follow Fighting With Myself podcast, that was kind of a funny burn. Alpha. I finished at 25. I only got one fight right. But I just got it perfect.
That's all you need sometimes.
Thank goodness for a perfect fight. I did not do great again last week. It's been really hard, and I still finished in the middle of the pack because people did worse than me. Like Ricky and Bobby over from MMA Marks.
Boom! Boom! Punch him down. I love it. We go all over the place here. Definitely scoring. I don't know where I was in there. I think I was in 4th or 5th as well, staying right in the middle.
Right in the middle.
I'm at the position.
Middle.
I'm at the position where I can grab left, right, up, or down. I got one of them right in my grasp.
You're like that guy that they made the movie about, Free Solo.
Yeah, exactly.
You're doing it without a rope. You're not trying to make leaps, like world record leaps. You got to stay safe so you know your body weight can still pull it up. But you're doing this without a rope. Exactly.
Get my range in there. Luckily, we have many weeks to come to keep these picks going. The shit talking's getting real.
Yeah, and a shout out to the backlog. The Discord page and everything that's done, it's next level. I just appreciate the amount of technical stuff that the things that look simple sometimes aren't that simple. And people don't know how much tedious little time, even if you love it, that it takes to do some of the stuff. So kudos to you. The backlog looks awesome, and thanks for putting us up, because the Fight Pick Championship is fun as fuck. I like it.
It is changing the game. Some little Twitter clout in there it's going to give us in the fight community, and rightfully so. It will be just, again, backlog in there, as you're saying, doing a great job. We're both learning as we go with all these. Hopefully you can all grow with us.
And Grampy back, and backlog. I think we said Ricky, Bobby, Ricky Jitsu, the Juicer, Alpha. Said everyone's name. Are you going to get mean?
I am not going to get mean, but the shit talking is getting real. We're going to eventually have something coming down the pipeline. You aren't safe. We got something coming. We're learning. We're getting stuff in the works, so maybe there'll be another little issued content as the week goes on, just as this is going. It's inspiring to keep just kind of staying a little more involved, I feel like.
No more emotional betting. No more, that's my number one thing that I want to give myself going forward. And I'd rather just stay in the middle than be at the bottom.
That's a great goal.
Fight Pick Championship.
I don't know why it's laser beams, but it is.
It's the 80s. It's Stranger Things. We're all on bicycles.
Cards in the spokes.
Yeah.
So
it's all our heads on it.
You know what we're all here for. You know why we are doing this week in, week out. We got more fights on the pipeline. We're going to Singapore. It's going to be a 5 a.m. type of card here on the East Coast. Check your local listings. We're going to one of the fight capitals of the world out there. There's all sorts of stuff always going on in Singapore. It's going to be an 11-card bout. It's going to be headlined by, again, those grapplers we were talking about earlier, Damian Maia versus Ben Askren, in such a fun profile fight. But we always start from the bottom to the top, and that's not going to change anytime soon. Here, with 265 pounds, we have returning Rafael Pessoa against Jeff Hughes. Jeff Hughes being 10-2, coming off of a draw or an overturned fight with Todd Duffy. Eye gouge, which we all know Todd Duffy wanted his way out. Everybody knows that. It's definitely great that Hughes made a quick turnaround about a month later and is not hopefully ruining that entire camp that he worked up for Duffy in there. But Hughes, as we were saying before, he likes to strike at range, stay on the outside, kill you with a gas tank. He'll throw in his wrestling every once in a while, but he more position over submission type of guy and overwhelms you with rabbit punches. He can throw in a good right every once in a while, but he's definitely not the biggest power puncher at 265. Against Pessoa, he's definitely 9-1 off of the regional scene. It was, again, just trash cans he was fighting. He came in against a contender that I think is really going to make a run right up the heavyweight division. We're going to see him later against Cyril Gane. Said he was going to get it done. He got it done quick, fast, and in a hurry. Pessoa coming and striking absolutely horribly, gassing halfway through the first round, and just generally looking out of shape. He mainly is a jiu-jitsu guy, but will just kind of throw everything into his punches. I feel like Hughes can keep this where he wants it and actually finish Pessoa in the third round, but I think it's a gas tank finish. I think it's a TKO. I think it's more Pessoa being like, I wasn't meant to go more than a round and a half in the UFC, and he just kind of gives up the goat in there and taps due to strikes type of thing. Give me Hughes in here. He just more of a veteran, much better competition level. This is a fade on Pessoa. I don't think he goes far in the UFC. Who do you have in this fight and why?
I have Hughes by decision as well. I think this is going to be a slow, boring fight, and everyone's going to expect a quick knockout, but it's not going to be that way, and Hughes will win by cardio and a dirty split.
Hughes ended up being 8,800 on DraftKings against Pessoa's 7,400. Almost at 9,000 for Hughes, so he has to get above essentially 90 points to really be paying that off. I don't think it's a decision. I think a finish, if it's not a finish, the output that I see from Hughes is just so much more that I think he can rack up points. I've really been staying away from that fight where we say stay away and I'm like, oh, I feel like I have to have a bit of action. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. It's a heavyweight bout, so the dirtiest of splits can always happen in here.
It could happen.
Moving on to 115 pounds, we have
Fuck you, Abu.
Alexandra Abu, the booty queen in there, coming in against debuting Loma Lukbumi. I worked on that so hard. Loma in here, though, being 3-1.
I think there couldn't be a name that was more
readable.
Yeah.
Lukbumi. I totally agree. And that's how it's pronounced. The Thai fighter is definitely coming in with a 3-1 record. She has fought on Invicta, won a few decisions, won a couple, I feel like, TKOs. The decisions weren't looking as good now that her competitions move forward just because they've lost a few other ones in there. She's mainly a Muay Thai striker. On the ground, she was submitted pretty quickly in the second round in her only loss ever. Saw that. She just really held on to a really weird position. Both ladies kicked at the same time. Loma here likes to throw a lot of kicks in there. Okay striking. Very Muay Thai oriented in the clinch. She's all right. She has an alright gas tank and a good amount of output. She is fighting out of Phuket. The thing with her is on the ground, the position she got on the ground just looks like at times she was lost. And it was specifically with that armbar, she just left her arm in a really bad spot where she could have been swimming through and stuff. Someone I can't trust a lot, but I did like that she has gone to decisions against even American fighters. Abu having a 3-1 record as well. She was fighting trash cans, and once she got in the UFC, she got submitted very quickly 8 months ago against Whitmire, who has been spotty at best in the UFC as well. Abu is a bodybuilder who's best known for those booty shots. She gasses incredibly hard, has a good clinch, but it's only good for maybe 2 rounds. She throws heavy punches out of that clinch. Takedowns aren't that good. She muscles them, and once that gas tank's gone, she really looks like she's barely holding on to life and will even give up a lot of bad positions. So this is a greasy one. This one is dirty. I got Loma split decision. I see a lot of people being heavier on Loma. Out of the 2 fighters, that's the way I would lean more so, but this is just low-level MMA. Both of these fighters only had 4 total fights ever pro. You can't put your money behind either fighter as far as actual bets, but give me Luke Booney for me. Decision. Who do you have? And why?
For me, for Look Boon Me, it's really just her activity over Albu. I like that Albu has gone against people in the UFC, but they're all kind of ladies that we never kind of felt they were UFC caliber. I don't like that Look Boomy's last match was at 105 compared to a really well filled out strong 115er like Albu. And I think Russia's going to have a hot run tonight specifically going into this. So that all makes me tentative. Look Boonme is a small chick. So I do like that she's young. I do like the growth. I do like her Tiger Muay Thai shirt in the picture that I'm looking at of her. I'm going to go Look Boon Me decision. Probably going to stay away from this, though.
Totally agreed on that one. We are in Singapore, but is it just the fact that Russia's so much closer? Maybe the travel's not going to be as dramatic for Abu in this position? Or do you think that the judges will actually will affect the fight? Because I think you have a point here that it would be more likely that a lot of Russian fighters would be in Singapore cheering on their fighter than fighters from Thailand.
Is Singapore, free? Is it under British rule? Isn't it one of those places with a really weird,
They gamble. They're internationally, renowned to be lax with their laws, I feel like.
Yeah, but I think that they're, under different... They're one of those places that's not, China rule. They're,
Agreed.
Like Hong Kong or something.
They got their own. Well, getting controversial in here.
Yeah, I think it is something like that. It's just not their time yet, but I feel like it's a very similar situation. They have a different kind of democracy there. I might be totally off and totally wrong. Feel free to tweet me at Zoltanite. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, Look Boon Me decision.
Decision in there. Boom Knee being the debuter is going to be 8,200 on DraftKings against Albu's returning 8,000 on DraftKings. Albu has an average 64 points in there against the 0 for Loma in there. Again, stay away. This is the one I'm going to big fat stay away in there. Maybe I could actually do 10% of Albu because she does have power. She does have that power. It's just no. But it'd be that flash knockout, and it'd be on literally one of my cards just to hedge my bets. Loma, 0%.
Yeah, and I see this card getting a lot of shit, and I understand, but you guys, it's coming on at fucking 3 in the morning. Not really, but depend on where you live. It's 5-ish in the morning that it starts. So
Hawaii, it's going to be 11.
It's going to be normal.
It's normal.
So, yeah.
Definitely one to stay away from in general. Moving back up to the heavyweights, we're going to have a profile bout here in Sergey Pavlovic coming in against Maurice Green. Mr. Green, the crochet boss himself, 8-2, coming in with a 3-fight winning streak after losing to Espino for the Tough House belt in there, but then coming in the UFC, submitting Batista, beating Jeff Hughes in a rematch, and then beating Junior Albidi as of late, TKO round number 3 as an underdog. I'm telling you guys, Maurice Green's changed it. I know he's had issues with his alcohol and cigarettes abuse, but he has made that change and he's understood that he's a UFC fighter now. Being 6'7", he makes a lot of guys look small in there. His jab's finally coming together well, and on the ground, he's not submission, he's not super sound, but he knows what he's doing on the ground, and he's not easily exploitable on the ground. But he's somebody that definitely is a prospect at 33 in the heavyweight division with his size. against Sergi, who came in with a 13-0 record, or a 12-0 record, came in against, who was that, Gloam?
Yes.
And ended up
Or
beating
Alistair
him.
Overeem?
He beat Gloam in his debut, but then he lost his first loss ever to Alistair Overeem, which was a humongous step up
Alistair
in competition.
Overeem was his first fight, and Gloam was the second.
Dang it. This is still all jacked up over here. Either way.
I don't think it's jacked up. I think that the information just...
Pops up.
you just have to pay attention to the information. You're doing everything right with your fingers, but it feels like monkey hands.
Sergi,
I have to remind myself too. Sorry, we're on Tapology.com. They do not pay for that plug.
Sergi comes in as mainly a striker. He's muscle bound. He's not fighting in anywhere other than Singapore, because if he gets near Novinsky at all, you know he ain't passing that smell test. You know he's one of these guys that is muscle bound in there. Good left hook, good striker. I think he has a bit of a judo background in there. He's going to be able to beat the Gloams in there. He's going to be able to blitz a lot of these guys and really put it on them. But we've seen people like Mr. Green actually show pretty good chin in there against some good punchers. And his last fight with Albini hit him up. That was not an easy fight, even though it is Albini in there, but that just put more confidence for Mr. Green in there. I think Sergi wins the first round heavily, maybe even 10-8. But after that first round, Sergi's gas tank is shot. And I like betting against these type of guys that are muscle bound. It's why I bet a lot of other, if you guys have been listening to the cast at all, if you don't have a gas tank past that first, Maurice Green's the type of guy that's like, oh, you hit me with the kitchen sink. Guess what? I'm still here. Now it's time to crochet, buddy. Let's get it going. Give me the crochet boss. A humongous underdog here. I got TKO round number 3 in the heavyweight division. Maurice Green hopefully comes through again as an underdog. He's been making me money as of late. Who do you have and why?
I just think Sergey Pavlovich is far better than any opponent that Maurice Green has gone up against yet. But we know Sergey can be caught and he's chinny by guys. I just don't think that Maurice Green is as precise as Alistair Overeem. He's just kind of sloppy in there, and I do like everything that I've seen, but his age, I just don't think it's going to give him the time to catch up. I think travel's going to be wearing, and Sergey is a big young cat who's just kind of getting better in there. I almost want to change my Albu decision to Albu submission round 2. And then I'm also going to pick Sergey. I don't think by knockout, though. I think that he can do enough to win the fight by a decision. I'm more so impressed with Maurice Green's chin and everything that I've seen him do, and he would be more likely to get submitted, and I just don't think Pavlovich is going to do that. I think Maurice Green is going to be very, very dangerous at the end of this fight, but I got Pavlovich decision. It's going to be weird. I think that one, not a lot of people think it'll go the distance.
Yeah, I agree. He was a big, heavy puncher, but we're seeing Greg Hardy and Hayoki specifically. Once you get him out of this first round, the fight dramatically turns into a completely different fight. And at 9,000 for the decided favorite here, minus 235, Sergey Pavlovich against Maurice Crochet Boss Green, 7,200. I'm going to be going 30% on Maurice Green. I'm fairly confident in this one. I like him. I like him in this spot a lot.
Have you ever gone with Sergey?
I went against Gloam. But Gloam is also not, I would pick Green against Gloam.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, that's true.
doesn't say too much.
Albini.
But
I have Gloam or Albini.
Gloam. Yeah, that's dirty. That's dirty. But I think Hughes could be Gloam too, though.
Yeah.
So, MMA math, getting all sorts dirty up in there. How much do you think you're going to play Sergey at 9,000 on DraftKings?
I may have him at 20%. I could see myself peppering in Green depending on the price.
7-2.
See myself peppering in Green for sure.
I definitely like Green. I'll put 10% just to have some expense in there. Moving on to 145 pounds, we have Henrique Barcelos coming in against Morzarov Evelev. This was one that I've really been fighting with myself. Ha! Over this fight. A perfect 11-0. Evelev's coming hot off the press. He has been fighting out of that M1 Global Series, fighting actually at level competition, coming in and beating Choi in there in a decision 6 months ago. showing solid all-around wrestling. Did have good striking. He's definitely well-rounded all the way around. And the gas tank has been showing up even in the third round. He's been holding on really well. I actually had Enrique, the 16-4-1, Barcelos earlier in the week because tailor-made, I feel like stylistically, Barcelos gives everybody a tough fight, but it's the same as Corbin. The same type of fight where Barzola uses wrestling in reverse, will even shoot a takedown in there, but you're really just gets you with volume, will even kind of Philly shell it in there, but does eat a little more damage than I care to think. I do like his output, but I think here that Evelev has shown that he, when I went back and watched his tape, that he can keep that type of output and can actually do better striking and on the ground. Evelev can get back up, if not reverse Barzola, where Barzola is again more of that positional instead of submission. He's just going to try to get on top and then punches and usually guys get up. That's why he can like 5, 6, 7 takedowns in a round. Where if Evelev gets into the ground, gets on top, I see him more starting to attack for a lot of submissions. I had Barzola's earlier in the week. Ended up switching back to the favorite. I do think it's too steep of a line. I think this can turn into a dirty type of split. I'm going decision Evelev, the favorite here, minus 190, but I could see Barcelona making this much closer than people now. Who do you have in this fight and why?
I can see why you're going back and forth for every reason. Barzola is one of those guys that he's like a prospect killer. And he also takes everything to a grimy, boring decision. But I also don't always agree when you say it, but this time I think it's perfectly said submission over position as far as Evelev is concerned. He is just a guy that's going to snatch up the ankle or the neck or one of these things a lot quicker and not just make it a grind out grappling match like Barzola tends to do. He's also, Mofsar can stay up with the cardio pace of Enrique. I think this is going to be a dirty grind. If I'm Mofsar, I want to keep him a little at distance so I can. I do think Evelev's hands are better than Barzola's, but I think Barzola's hands are great too. I think there's potential to make money with both guys just by the amount of points they lay. But I think the all-around prospect for me is how great Evelev looks. AKA can put a fight plan together. We do know this, but they're kind of the camp of yesteryear in a way for me. They got this old, grimy, like go in there, get her game planned, where I think it's a game of ring IQ more and taking less damage and rolling with punches more. I think Mozart does that everywhere. So I'm going to go with decision because also like I like that Philly shell with Barzola. Like you were saying, he does just shell up and just take this damage on his arms that sometimes the judges don't see it that way. You and I clearly see it at home, but we've been at fights too that people cheer thinking somebody's getting hit and they're totally taking everything
right
on the arms, but it doesn't matter sometimes. The judges still call it for the other guy. So I think the output of Mozart is going to be the impressive thing. But I like both guys. Evelev, decision!
On DraftKings, you're going to end up paying for the favorite, $8,700 against the underdog, plus 155, Barzola, 7,500. I actually think the guy that is obviously more playable than 75 is Barzola. The fact that we see it a decision with him having an average of 79 points in there, I kind of see myself going more of the like 20. Maybe even 20% Barzola, 10% Evelev, because at 8,700, I don't necessarily see him getting over 90 points unless he finishes here.
That's right on with that price to me.
Right, I agree. So how much percent do you think you're going to be exposed to?
20, or if you can go 30-30, I think they're both going to be medium price guys, so all dependent. I could actually see myself getting into a little trouble having extra money every time and spending the money on Evelev unnecessarily. Just to have, because I might have a little extra in my gas tank, but I do like I like the 20-20 advice. I like both guys going forward. I don't want to get emotional about it. Is Evelev another Russian?
He is definitely coming out of the Istagari of Russia Fight Club. So it's going to be a fun one, fun to watch. I think we're going to see better fights throughout the night. One of them might be at 155 pounds, where Rafael Fiziev comes in against Alex White. The Spartan White is coming in with a 13-5 record, coming off of a win to Dan Moret, unanimous decision. Prior to that, losing to Jim Miller.
Alex White's name shouldn't be the Spartan, it should be Scott Pilgrim.
It's just that haircut in this time.
It is that kind of dude. He just has that Michael Cera look about him.
But here, White is definitely someone who has grown up out of team destruction. I thought he was going to top team for a while. That still could be right. But Alex White, mainly a kickboxer. On the ground, he's shown that he has takedowns and his takedown defense has gotten better, but he can get pushed up against the cage and just nullify. White always gets in brutal fights. Once he throws elbows in the clinch, they're great, but he just doesn't throw them enough. There's a lot, when I was watching tape, I'm like, cool, do that again. And he just doesn't do it after it lands. It's just, I don't know if it's low fight IQ or just kind of letting the fight go.
I feel like Alex White's one of those guys that we kind of wanted him to Daniel Hooker, but instead he's kind of James Vick.
Yeah, he just kind of evened out.
Yeah, like...
He's going to be a tough fight, but you're always going to be in a really close fight with him unless he finishes. And Rafael Fiziev coming in as a big favorite. He came off of his debut losing to Magomed Mustafa. Big favorite there. A lot of people fading the Russian fighter. And Fiziev coming out of the Tiger Muay Thai scene. Everyone getting all sorts of hype. He ate a spinning back kick. It was over. I remember having Fiziev everywhere. I was so over that Russian fighter. And Fiziev's chin just didn't show out in there. I think it was a body shot and then eventually that ground and pound. But I didn't get to see much from him in his debut. Technically, from the tape I saw before, all the way around, he is a good fighter. All the way around, he's well-rounded, but it's been at much lower competition. And in this spot, he should be able to get the fight where he wants to, which is probably going to be on the ground. But if he can't, striking-wise, I don't think White is necessarily better, but I do really like his striking. I like his power of Alex White. That's why I've always liked to give him a shot, is because when he hits people, it does hurt. He has a jab that's really good. Does Alex White as well. He just doesn't use it. His best attributes, he just kind of forgets of in a fight and gets in a brawl. So, gonna be super tentative. I had Fiziev, went to Alex White, switched back to Fiziev, going back to Alex White. I think he can get it done in here. I'm going to go decision, dirty split. I could see a finish later. I'm going to be tentative. I'm going to watch weigh-ins on this one. This one's subject to change for me. Give me the veteran in here, Alex White, to get a 2-fight winning streak. Who do you have? Give me another underdog. Tonight, or this morning.
What day is it? Fiziev is one of those guys that, he has the power to knock you out at any second, but he's gone against a lot of guys that don't have Alex White type records or Alex White type chins. So Fiziev the second, I just feel like he's going to be a guy that burns out in the first round and then Alex is going to take it over. I think there is going to be some dangerous stuff that Fiziev has to make it through, but I don't see him, Alex White has to make it through as far as the power goes, but I can see him doing some double underhooks and just hanging onto those arms in the first round, maybe having to put up with he does his own great inside work, so if he does use those elbows like you're saying, and then I do think he can pick him apart on the feet. As long as Alex White stays standing, he is going to be okay here. I like everything that he's brought together so far, still in the UFC, even though I was being a little bit of a hater calling him Scott Pilgrim. But I just don't think Fiziev has really showed up yet. I'm tired of these early hype trains that people are like, well, they did really good in blank
in the gym,
their organization. So give me Alex White, give me the veteran. I think his losses were legit losses in ways that I don't see Fiziev having the ability to finish. So give me White by decision. I think he takes the last 2 rounds, and I could even see him maybe getting a knockout here toward the end of the third. So I like your underdog pick there.
I feel like I'm picking underdogs for days this card.
These are always the weird cards where like the entire card's all underdogs.
Very true. We are in Singapore. We've had dirtier stuff for sure. We're going to have the favorite. The big favorite here, minus 240.
What makes the poor sing? Underdogs.
Very true, very true. Fiziev being the big favorite, minus 240 at 8,900 on DraftKings against Alex White, 7,300. This is totally disrespectful. Alex White has fought multiple times in the UFC to be just this low, especially even off of a win, where Fiziev came off of a loss to a guy we're trying to fade. It just
Maybe it's
doesn't make sense.
losses too. But it's like, when are they? Certain people can lose 14 times and still be in the top 10.
Their losses in the UFC, where the first time Fiziev fought, it was White's gotten a couple wins in there. So I'm gonna probably be playing that 30% Alex White, Fiziev. I'm gonna probably fizzle out on that one. Going on to the headlining preliminary bout of the night, you got Ronda Marcos coming in against Ashley Yoder in here. Ronda Marcos being 9-7-1. She's coming off of a loss in a decision to Claudia Gadelha. Prior to that, she ended up beating Angela Hill submission. Armbar is a big underdog. She had a draw against Rodriguez. Marcos is hit and miss. I've been trying to be on that Marcos train. She just shows me too many different things every time she goes in there. She tries to strike at times and then loses the striking battle. She comes out, submits Angela Hill. Then she comes back to Gadelha and can't do anything. It's just can't get a solid read on her. She has win one, lose one for her last 15 bouts, where it has been back and forth other than a draw, but that evens out perfectly. So she's technically due on a win here. She likes to wrestle. She tried to get that striking going, as I said, but I think showed that she understands now that she just needs to go and grind it out. That's the way she wins fights, getting to the ground, getting submissions. And Yoder here puts together a solid game plan. She is 7-4, having a few fights in the UFC as well, losing to Justine Quiche, losing to Hill in there, but last getting a win against Amanda Bobby Cooper, also beating Kondo in a big decision 3 months ago, really showing that she has her own type of wrestling against Kondo. I mean, breaking the slate, she was all sorts of money with Yoder in there, but she just really finally showed a different facet of her game, because Yoder likes to keep it striking. She is mainly a kickboxer at range. She's going to be the better fighter here, and she has a much higher output than Ronda Marcos. One of the biggest deficits that Marcos always has to make up in her fights as well, if she can't get the fights to the ground, is she just doesn't throw punches. I went back and looked at all her fights in the UFC.
They all got booed.
They all get booed. Because literally, the most strikes that Marcos has ever landed in a fight is 48. That's low, way too low of output. Way too low of output. So against Yoder here, I think Yoder can actually keep it striking. I think she's turned that takedown defense around, and striking-wise, she's going to have a clinic here. Give me Yoder decision. You needed another underdog. You got one. You're welcome.
I've gone back and forth on this too. I don't think it's as crazy as you're saying. Like, Yoder is somebody who I gave a bunch of hate, but I think she's just turned it around the last few fights. It's like she's literally turned a corner if you watch her last two fights compared to her first two. Ronda Marcos is just somebody who is... It's almost like if she's fighting a big name, she's going to ruin your night. Anytime she's the underdog, she's going to ruin your night. Anytime she's the favorite, she's going to ruin your night. When it's like I want to go with her when she's the underdog and never go with her when she's the favorite ever again. I like everything you're saying about Yoder. If she keeps it at distance, Ronda Marcos can make it grimy, but a couple of elbows on the inside. I think Yoder's hungry. I think Ronda Marcos is just kind of getting toward the end of her game. She knows how to make a boring fight happen and knows how to eke out a decision here. I think this fight should be a lot closer. There's no reason. The only reason Ronda Marcos is such a favorite here is because people are still giving Claudia Gadelha this huge friggin' shine because of her JJ battle when they had the tough house. I think that, not that Claudia Gadelha is not awesome, but she isn't to the level of, I think she should get more shine for being with Nina Asaroff for that decision. Wasn't it? What happened to that? Why is it a draw on here? That's
against Rodriguez. That was just a close battle. Maybe a while ago. I could be wrong on that.
I don't know where I seen that.
It might have been Yoder.
It was Yoder. Huh. I don't even know where I seen her name. Anyways, I'm going to go Yoder decision, and I'm probably not going to go too heavy on this fight. I could see myself sneaking Yoder into one or two, but otherwise stay away from it.
Ronda Marcos being almost a 2-1 favorite here, beating 8,300 on DraftKings against the plus 155 underdog Ashley Yoder, 7,900.
It's a little annoying. That's why she's getting this disrespect.
I am going to be staying away from this one. I don't even like throwing percentages out there because if it's a dirty split, if there's a person to play, it's going to be Yoder.
Agreed.
But I don't even think 10% is a just amount. Right?
Maybe one card.
Exactly. Of Yoder, but very few run of Marcos here. If Yoder gets into the guard, Marcos gets into the guard. I think the going to be there for that.
So before we move any further, I want to make sure that you guys are following us everywhere that you can, because we have just switched from being on Libsyn, which has been a great provider service for us for a lot of years, to over to Anchor FM. And so hit us up there, and we're on a lot more streaming services. So we might be on the one that you're listening to right now. You just have to switch over the stream. So you're not going to hear this, me ask you to do this, if you're not still following. So if you missed us and are finally jumping on stream again because you missed us once or twice, welcome back. Also, to get all this information all the time, make sure you're following us at LaTB_MMA, and make sure you're following Emmanuel at Zoltanite, because he's always putting up parlays and underdog picks and good things that'll make you money. You can follow me at Weeknight Baby, and also to follow all of our friends for the Fight Pick Championship tournament that we've been up to. You have to be following us too, because we're always trying to give them shout outs or talking in different posts and things like that. So feel free to follow along, and feel free to talk shit. Yeah, maybe you agree, maybe you don't agree, maybe you're totally on their side with certain fights, ours for the other.
Let us know. Let us know
yeah,
what you agree with.
We always get out the card before the UFC, and we have our picks on it, but we always put out a card for you guys, and feel free to put your name on that and repost it. We'll repost it every time.
Guaranteed.
On our Twitter and sometimes on our Instagram. So, LaTB_MMA. Back to the main card. While you're here, this is where I'd put in a horn if I had one.
Beep, 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 beep. So, that'll work. At 170 pounds, the main card starts with Muslim Saliakov, the king of Kung Fu, coming in against Laredo Strapoli. Strapoli's coming in with a 9-1 record, getting 2 wins in the UFC back-to-back against Thiago Alves and who was it? Hector Aldana in there as well. Aldana, we already said it, he probably needs to be on that. As Thiago Alves, 2 guys pretty much on the end of their career as far as the UFC in my eyes. 5 months ago, he got it done against Alves in there. I was actually picking Alves, thinking he was going to be able to do it, but Strapoli put on a pace and didn't let up. Strapoli is a little more hittable than I like, but his volume just really frustrates guys. He's constantly throwing to the leg, mid-thigh, body, and head, and just isn't worried about getting into weird spots because his gas tank has just always come up. It's always shown through. The young fighter is definitely pressure-oriented and has shown a fairly good chin, but with all that volume, there is a level almost a biasness in there. Where there's times Strapoli will throw 3 fights to actually throw the kick he wanted to. Where it's like, why did you just throw those other 3 punches? Feint that and throw the kick because you're not fooling anyone. And against the king of Kung Fu, you really need to set up good striking because this is the only standout practitioner, or the first, maybe not the only, the first to ever not be against Chinese to win the Kung Fu competitive championship, or standout championship there. So definitely coming in with all sorts of striking credentials. Being 15,
Robert Iron Man is a black belt in Kung Fu.
Ooh.
I think it's Kung Fu.
That, hopefully we get to see him in there soon. So, Saliakov, the king of Kung Fu in there, came in against Rainian, not against Rainian, he coming against Alex Garcia and lost via decision, but then knocked out Ricky Rainian, who probably should be. And then as of late, really showed up a month ago, knocking out Nordin Taleb in a fight that I was picking Taleb, thinking he was also going to use that veteranship, but that overhand right knocked him out stiff. That was a brutal knockout. We ended up watching that, and it was absolutely lights out. Taleb should take more than a year off, but also a guy on his career. So both of these guys really interesting competitions they've had. The King of Kung Fu has great spinning attacks, great kicks as well, sets up fun strikes. His gas tank didn't need to be shown this last night, but it has shown out against other competition. He's a bit older at 35 years old, but we are in Singapore. So that APO could be running. I wouldn't be surprised.
It's flowing like the river in your dreams.
But it could be running for both guys. Strapoli, I believe, has only been fighting outside of the country as well. Just got to be fair on that one. So, the Argentine with that amount of level, I think if this goes to decision, it's going to be Strapoli because of the volume. But if it finishes, well, Strapoli hits with power as well. So I could see him finishing here. It's just the King of Kung Fu needs that one shot. He's more of that one and done type of strike, where Strapoli will hit with 3 and then land that one shot. So I think the more advantages go to the younger fighter here stylistically, but I'm really hesitant because the King of Kung Fu has a power. He showed us you can't set it up. You didn't need another underdog, but you got one. Give me Strapoli decision in this bout.
Woo!
Who do you have in this bout and why?
I like Staropoli, and I don't really see him getting finished here, but I don't see Muslim Salikov not finishing him. I think you're giving a lot of props to Staropoli, and I like it. He's a guy that he's shown he's on the uphill swing in the UFC, and he could be a sneaky underdog going forward. That, and we tend to love Argentinians around here, a la Santiago Ponzinibbio, my boyfriend, who we did see at the fights. Again, I know we already told you. Salikov, I don't like him. I don't like when anyone calls himself the Prince of War or the Queen of Denial or the King of Kung Fu. So emotionally, I don't want him to win, which leads me to believe that he's totally going to win and download this guy's pattern. I'm going to do knockout around the 2. And then Staropoli will go home and have a good lasagna.
He's Argentinian. He speaks, but you get
I know, but Staropoli seems like he should have the best of the shop in the world.
The King of Kung Fu is going to come in as the slight
I want to put
favorite.
round 1 because emotionally I want to give Staropoli credit. I like him. Fresh, young kid. Salikov, KO round 1.
Salikov going to be 8,600 minus 150 favorite right now against Strapoli 7,600 plus a 120 underdog in there. I did a fun bet last week that came through with Woodson and Stewart, which cashed that plus 370 out there. It wasn't one of my patented plus monies, but I didn't feel that confident in it. But I feel like that's what I'm going to do in general. Just stuff that I'm playing myself. I'm going to be like, all right, you can't take it to heart.
Plus, the only rule
It's got to be plus money. That's
plus
it.
money. So sometimes it might be 2. You can do it if you want. You're not going to their house and
Making them do it, not holding a gun to their head.
Like, make me a TV dinner. Play this parlay. Make me a hungry man. I like the one with the hot little applesauce. It makes all the hair on your tongue stand up. If you don't got hair on your tongue, you ain't trying.
That's true. Very good point. Very good point here. So, Strapoli, as far as DraftKings, I'm going to probably put very little, maybe that 10%, but 10% on.
I was going to go heavy with
Salikov.
Salikov, but now I'm a little nervous, so I'm going to go light on both and put Staropoli in a couple of places.
Moving on to 265 pounds, the heavyweights have really been profiled. I was talking about him, Cyril Gane coming in against the Dante Mays.
When I saw your comment on Twitter, I'm not even going to tell you guys what it is, because if you ain't following, you don't get the juice. But when I saw your comment, I was actually thinking, damn, this fight tape must have been good.
Definitely somebody that you got to always be looking out for in game. But I feel like I'm going to profile the debuter real quick because he's 7-2, had to do the Contender Series 3 times before he finally got into the UFC. And this is a heavyweight, people. He had to go on that show 3 times where there's dudes with decisions that he's like, yeah, come on. A heavyweight, usually he's like, you're still breathing after 3 rounds? Yeah, come on, get in here. So, really weird with Mays. He is a bit, I want to say, young at 27 years old still, or just kind of low fight IQ. It's really the gas tank. after that first round, he really starts to fall off a cliff. The output goes out the door. He will throw some flashy strikes in there and likes a spinning back fist, likes a spinning elbow a lot. He throws it in his desperation, but Mays will throw it as he's running away from you. So a good striker's going to try to time that and still hit you with that right over it, but it's dangerous. It's just a very dangerous way he throws it in there. And after losing his bout against Alan Crowder, who did defeat and fatal himself, did Greg Hardy. Alan Crowder was the only man to ever defeat.
And he has a podcast called Louder with Crowder. Guys,
if you guys want to check it out.
You might get really pissed off.
But here, Mays in that fight just showed it was the gas tank that did it for him, and he went to a couple decisions after that, but against much lower level competition. He's pretty much live is for that first round, and it's just off of a cliff. Does that run. And against Gain, being Francis Ngannou's number one training partner out of France, a Muay Thai specialist, kickboxer, whatever you want to call it. 28-year-old, has all sorts of accolades. Told you on the last fight, this guy's someone to watch out for, just because you're going to see him even with a lot of his fights. He's going to be able to finish people, and it's not just his strikes. Gain he's Alistair Overeem to me, so he has a better chin, and he's just growing, but he has the same acumen, and his guillotine, all of that stuff just really reminds me of it. So when these heavyweights start to get picked apart with that jab that he peppers you with, they always shoot on him, and he's like, oh, hey, let me show you my favorite choke. Let me show you my favorite choke real quick. And he gets you out of there. And I actually have submission round number 2. Could even see it round number 1. A lot of people were surprised he submitted his last bout, but it was because of the striking. I think a lot of that plays the same here. I think Mays is just like, oh, this guy's a striker than me. We're going to go to the ground, which he's not good at. And then Gain's like, hey, wait, I'm actually not bad on the ground myself. Off of his back, we haven't seen much from Gain, so he could get stuck there, but these nights always start neutral.
He always gets back to the cage pretty good, gets his back to the cage, and like you're saying, takes advantage of a quick neck. I like everything I've seen from Gain, and he's just getting to that sweet spot as far as I'm concerned, that between 28 and 32, where we see that these guys are at their prime. I like what you said, and I am going to give you props right now. You said if anyone's going to give Stipe AMS, like if you want to look out on the horizon at somebody dangerous coming up, it's Gain. And not only do I agree with you, I feel like for that reason alone, I even like your submission play. It's almost like that ring IQ is so high. He sees that he's not one of those guys that's in there for blood. He's in there for skill, and he almost sees that this guy can't keep up with me and grabs up that neck.
He fights like a 170-pounder type of mentality. Yeah. With his strike acumen, he doesn't move like a heavyweight. Definitely, submission is a prop that I'm going to be probably playing.
And I'm going to have submission round 2. I think both guys are going to play tentative and respect each other that first round. And Gain's going to download everything he needs to set up the submission with strikes and keep himself out of super harm's way. I like Gain. Yes, but we're not the only ones. He's the moderate favorite.
Definitely. And I wouldn't say feed him to the heavyweight champions.
No.
He's 5 fights, 4 or 5 fights. Yes, but he's a guy that's like, okay, that's someone we can put our name behind. But a lot of people will be. Fun. Like you're seeing from that young. On DraftKings, the decided favorite here, almost the biggest favorite, 0 Gain, 9,200 against the debuter, Mays at 7,000 even, no Mays anywhere. This is probably the lock of the night for me. I'm actually surprised he wasn't the most expensive fighter on the entire fight card, so I'm going to have to back off actually and go like 70. I would say 100%, but I'm going to go down to 70% just to have that variance, but Mays. Moving on to Beneil Dariush against Frank Camacho. The crank in there has been getting it done as of late. 22-7, moving down from 70 down to 55. Having a great showing against Nick Hine as of late. Prior to that, he lost a brutal finish to Geoff Neal in there a knockout for the ages, coming back and just really showing at 55. He's putting it together, having that amazing body attack against Hine. It was Camacho's solid on the ground, but his striking, his aggressiveness is just going to be a problem for anyone, especially if he's now rotating the strikes from body to head. I was fading Hine in the last fight, but that's been a bit of what's been happening. The 30-year-old Camacho, though, has just looked like he's finally making strides in there, coming out of the Tretch Tech out of Guam, but I do know he's been training in the States for a little while. I can't think of his specific camp. Maybe ATT. Frank Camacho, though, if he puts that same type of game plan that he put in against Hine, where he was, just coming out of the gate, not letting Hine really set up much, it's gonna be stylistically a nightmare for Beneil Dariush. Beneil Dariush doesn't do well against pressure fighters. When he's on the front foot, he definitely does a lot better, but that's, I guess, most for anyone. The 16-4 fighter is coming off of a 2-fight winning streak, beating Drew Dober as of late, and also winning against Thiago Moises in a decision. I've been picking against Beneil for a little while now, and I feel like I picked both of those bouts against him because I've just been trying to fade that chin. It's just Beneil Dariush's kryptonite. When he goes out stiff, and he can get put out there by Alex Hernandez, by just guys that immediately get up in your face and don't let you. And that's why I also picked Moises, because I'm like, this guy gets off fast. He can do this. He can beat Beneil. But Beneil's still all the way around really good black belt, high-level jiu-jitsu guy on the ground, coming out of King's MMA. Good striking. It's just, I think he's realizing more. He needs to get it to the ground to win this type of fights. And Camacho on the ground isn't the best. He's not going to submit or even reverse Beneil Dariush. So if Benny can stick to a game plan, I think that he can easily win this decision 30-27. But he's going to have to get through a lot of punches before then. And I think Camacho can land. Give me round number 1. Frank, the Crank Camacho. You need another underdog.
Wow.
I'm just fading that chin of Dariush. I'm fading the chin of Dariush. It's what I've been doing. I don't know why I keep doing it. Hasn't worked twice in a row for me, but hey, someone's going to say it's going to finally hit. If Hernandez can do it and then show kind of where his career's gone, I got to feel like Camacho can put that type of game plan together. I could switch later.
I agree with you. I do think that Frank Camacho could knock people out, but so could, he just as easily. He has that kind of same chin. I just like how Dariush has been playing lately. I've never been a real lover of Dariush. That's why me saying this, I'm trying to be against my emotional pick. I got Dariush for a grindy, dirty ass decision. I think he kind of gets on him and keeps close, makes it a boring fight, keeps his head in his chest and just kind of punches up to get points, and a few takedowns peppered in, maybe like a 75-pointer on DraftKings, a dull, boring Dariush kind of decision. And that's what Benny needs to be doing to stay relevant in this division at this point.
If it turns into any type of a firefight, Benny's in great danger in there. I could see myself switching. I do think that it's a bit of a heart play in here. That's going to be a fun one. It's going to be a really, really fun one in here. The favorite, the slight favorite, minus 140, Beneil Dariush, 8,400 against Frank Camacho, 7,800. If Camacho wins, it's going to be over 100 points because it's going to be night. I'm going to probably do 10% Camacho, 10% Dariush. He's decided favorite. If Dariush gets those takedowns, it's going to be me being like, why did I pick Camacho? If that first takedown, just like in the Dominic Reyes-Weidman.
Yep, here's the fight.
Yep, exactly. As soon as I saw Reyes fight that first takedown for Weidman, I was like, why did I pick Weidman? As soon as that first one was stuffed. And same here. After that first takedown, if Beneil can get it to the ground, it fight's pretty much in the bag. I'm iffy on that one. I'm really tentative. I might switch back. I got a lot of underdogs throughout the night. I might not have to die on that cross. Moving on.
The Camacho. Camacho Macho Man.
Way better nickname than the Crank. Sounds like you're cranking down on something.
I know,
Is it
or
good?
that you're on crystal, man.
Yeah, it's just
I'm
the
like,
macho.
Speed! They call me Crank!
Moving on to the co-main event of the night, the biggest favorite of the night, we have Michael Johnson coming in against Stevie Ray. Braveheart himself, 22-9. Stevie Ray's coming off of a mega loss to Leonardo Santos. I had Ray in the last one. He got murked in that first round off of a counter left. I mean, he went night. He went absolutely stiff. Santos known to be a bit of a power striker, but essentially really a grappler. Santos has done that to a few other people, but Stevie Ray just always getting hurt in most of his fights, being all the way around. Fundamentally sound fighter, but not somebody who's going to really blow you out of the water in any one spot here. At 29 years old, his game just hasn't really evolved. We just really saw it. He didn't want to go to the ground with Santos, so it was like, yeah, of course you want to keep it standing. And all of a sudden, he got finished by a jiu-jitsu guy. So here, there's a reason a lot of people are just throwing money at Michael Johnson. They're just like, dude, have it, have all of it. You're a better striker, you're a better wrestler, and you have power. The only issue with Michael Johnson with a 19-14 record is that he likes to get into brawls. The level of competition has been night and day, though, when it comes to Michael Johnson. He's been fighting top 10, top 5 level contenders. Only man to ever beat Tony Ferguson, Michael Johnson in there. So Johnson has tons of accolades. Coming off of a loss to Emmett, TKO. Emmett has tons of power in there, but it's just that 33 years old. We've seen it online. There's only a certain level of fights you can get into where all these fights start to hurt you. And Johnson's chin just hasn't looked the best as of late. I'm a fan of Michael Johnson. I saw him in person. He was a stand-up guy over in Fort Lauderdale. I was like, hey, Michael! He was like, what's up, baby? It was dope. I feel like we're like this now. So
at the Wynwood Walls, which also makes an awesome IPA.
Which was dope as well. But Johnson here, I do think he should get the win. I do think it's a finish because he just has every single check mark here. It's just that chin I can't trust. And for that fact, it can't be a minus 300. It can't be a minus 200. I'd be more comfortable in the minus 150, and anything above that in any Michael Johnson type of a fight for me, it's just one I'm not confident in. I do have a TKO round number 1 or 2, so I'm kind of backtracking on all that. I'm just not comfortable. Maybe a 2-1 I'm more comfortable with, but over 3... No, Michael Johnson gets into too many brawls. Then again, Ray doesn't really have any tools to exploit that chin. He just doesn't have the speed even to get there or the trap. So Johnson should roll here pretty heavily. Again, TKO round number 2. Give Stevie Ray a little bit of credit. Probably shouldn't be, though. Who do you have and why?
I can see that, and that might happen. I just don't think Michael Johnson has been much of a finisher lately, but everywhere he should kind of have this fight. Like, I don't think Stevie Ray has it in him. I don't think he can carry it through. I think Michael Johnson is dangerous, and the only thing that threatens him is a takedown, and Stevie Ray doesn't have that. So I think their game plans are going to be kind of the same. So Michael Johnson's just going to have that little bit of a distance on the end of his snap, and they're going to make this a point fight. I got Michael Johnson decision. It could be 30-27, 30-26. I think it's going to be a definite decision. I think we're going to see takedown attempts from Stevie Ray with no effort of really trying to get taken down or trying to get the takedown, just because he's trying to get on the inside at the end of those punches. So, and I don't like the time. It's only been 4 months and something, almost 5 months for Stevie Ray from his knockout. That's the best shot. I like that. That's why I like that you're saying a knockout for that, because of that brief time in between that it could happen again. Give me Michael Johnson. Give me him by decision.
9,300, the biggest favorite of the night on DraftKings. This is the steepest you're going to have to pay on DraftKings against Stevie Ray's 6,900 on DraftKings. I can't put Stevie Ray anywhere, and I do have the finish, so I'm going to probably go heavy in the paint, but I have so many underdogs tonight, I feel like I still will have money left over.
You can put Michael Johnson everywhere if you wanted.
Everywhere. I'm going to probably do over that 50%, but he's going to be highly owned, but I feel like a lot of people are going to be in that boat as well, just as dramatically as that finish was for Ray. There's really nothing going forward for him, and it's really interesting, the stylistic matchup. Emmett to Stevie Ray is a big difference in competition level for me. So,
yeah, it's weird how far, he was just fighting Khabib not too long ago.
Exactly, to Stevie Ray off of a loss. So
yeah, in the middle of the night out of Singapore.
So, definitely gonna be one that I'm going to probably be targeting like most of you at 9,300. Moving on to the main event, we have a 5-rounder at welterweight, 170 pounds. This is going to be a fun one. Two legends of the sport for two completely different reasons. Damian Maia has been in here forever with a 27-9 record, coming in against newly, I guess, establishing veteran in Ben Askren, 19-1, getting his first loss ever. Devastating knockout. If you needed a plus money puesta, this was one of them that sent into the stratosphere plus 200 against Jorge Masvidal. You got to be crazy. What were you guys thinking? We were telling you like, hey, I did have a finish later, but I thought that takedown defense was going to play a role later on. And he just got it done right up, and that's what happens when Ben Askren's been training wrestling his whole life. His go-to, Ben Askren, if he wakes up because someone's breaking in, he's shooting a double leg before he grabs a gun to go downstairs. Like, that's ingrained in him. If somebody runs at him, he's going to duck right into a shot. So I think a lot of other people can exploit that. Not necessarily the knee as much, but I think a lot of uppercuts. A lot of that under trajectory type of hooks from the side, because Ben is just always going to be going for that takedown. Which here against Damian Maia, Damian's waiting for people to be taking him down. He's coming off of a 2-fight winning streak, having a bit of a slump, losing to Colby Covington and Kamaru Usman in there, and people talking shit on that. And it's like, yeah, those guys didn't even try to go to the ground. They didn't even try to go on top. Same with T Wood. Everybody who's beat Damian Maia is like, I don't even want to mess around. I'm going to beat you striking because you're getting a little bit more tenured. You're not throwing as many strikes at 41 years old. But anywhere on the ground, Damian Maia is a monster. High-level black belt. Good came in with tons of power. Couldn't keep it off the ground. It took only a minute into the first round until Damian Maia snatched that neck up.
Defense.
Does Damian Maia have?
No, would.
Good.
I was so disappointed.
Yes, he does.
I had good in that fight.
And then as of late, against Rocco Martin, we had a majority decision where Rocco could not keep this fight off of the ground. He did fight off the submissions, but Damian Maia still proved that he'll be able to out-grapple you, out-throw the ground and pound, and not just go away, not just go into that sweet night. He will go on with the fight. And stylistically, this just plays so much into Damian Maia's game plan. Damian Maia is the better striker here. He's fought better strikers, so he's picked up more. Ben Askren has never been a good striker. I had to go back to his one fights, which were in Singapore. Ben Askren, if there's a local favorite here, because this is American versus Brazilian, Ben Askren is the local
I'm glad
favorite
you're saying
here.
That.
So he's fought 3 times in this commission. They know him. He knows dudes in the back. So if this goes to decision, that's something you got to take into account. Just realities that are happening here. Damian Maia, though, if Askren goes to the ground once, I think that Askren likes to throw in that funk, likes to turn into scrambles. But on the ground, it's quicksand with Damian Maia. He's like, cool, put me on my head upside down. That's absolutely fine because he can submit you from literally any position in there. And Ben Askren has more of that catch wrestling style that's not going to catch the Damian Maia type of fighters. A bulldog choke isn't going to catch Damian Maia. Damian Maia is going to come in, and I don't think it's going to be some extravagant hold. I think it's going to be an arm triangle or a very basic rudimentary stepping over the side, and it slowly just gets tighter. I don't know when it happens, though. I feel like, striking-wise, the exchanges are going to end up falling to Damian Maia. He's thrown way more output overall, and it's been just straighter striking, where Ben Askren back in those Singapore days, he literally is reaching. He's not even trying to strike. When he does strike, it's to grab. And Damian Maia is going to be like, okay. I'm absolutely flabbergasted that Damian Maia is the underdog here. Give me a submission round number 4. Damian Maia, another underdog. I'm exhausted.
It's almost the weird thing, too. You know what training Damian Maia has had for Ben Askren? Colby Covington, Kamaru Usman, all these other... T Wood, all these other guys that are wrestling-centric and then have... T Wood has crazy good power. Yeah. Colby has the next striking ability in that. And then Kamaru Usman's striking ability is getting better every fight. So it's interesting to me that this is all Ben Askren. It's all she wrote. I think it's kind of weird that Damian Maia is the underdog. I think Ben Askren lacks the creativity that Damian Maia has. That it's like
thank you. That's exactly what I'm trying to say.
It's just Ben Askren's kind of. He's not funky. He's pretty one-dimensional, two-dimensional guy. He has a style that's amazing. He's perfected something. And usually it's what you say about Damian Maia, but the more well-rounded guy here is Damian Maia. You never say that. I like how he's taken a little more time in between fight. He's not fighting right on top of it. You know, he was doing something crazy during all those losses, like taking everything right away. So give me a Damian Maia. I don't know if he'll submit him. I don't know what the cardio of Ben Askren's going to be like to Damian Maia, but we never see any kind of cardio problems. I think a knee could play. I think the lack of creativity is definitely going to play. I even like your round 4 submission. I think it's just going to be when they're a little drier. Give it to me in round 3. It's going to be the furthest we see Askren go yet in the UFC, and I like Maia submission round 3. Oh,
I love what you're saying. I'm going to move it down to round 2 because I do think that they need to be a bit drier. I could even see a submission round 1 where Askren's rolling around just like, this is what I do, and all of a sudden he's like, I got it there.
And also, who is the biggest 170er that gets no credit for how enormous they are?
6'1", Damian Maia against 5'11".
He's enormous. The guy's yoked. I think it's something that definitely has to be looked at. Like, Ben Askren has a dad bod, and he was retired until it seemed like he was retired before the UFC took him on. Emotional for me. I would like Askren to get a win in the UFC. Like, I think this is a great fight for him. It's everything that you're like, hey, he's not going against a heavy power puncher. Let's hope he gets a win against a 41-year-old. But Damian Maia, it's just you. Both guys are at the top of their class. It is grappler's delight. I think Singapore will appreciate it. It can't go to decision, but Damian Maia is trying to get the finish the entire time. Dangerous until the end. I've gone with Askren. Fool me once, fool me twice. I can't do it anymore.
On DraftKings, you're going to end up paying for the minus 165 favorite Ben Askren, $8,500, coming in against Damian Maia's $7,700 plus 135. I mean, I got so many underdogs. I'm going to do some crazy kind of parlay that's going to be just stacked with all these underdogs I've been calling out tonight. A couple of them are subject due to change after the weigh-ins. It is going to be Singapore. The times are going to be off. I'm going to be making that morning coffee. I don't know about you. I feel like you're going to be making that morning coffee as well.
Coffee.
100%. It's not going to be beer time. That's for sure.
Yeah. It's coffee. It's early.
So, it was a fun one. It's a fun card. I'm excited for this one once we got through it all. We got championships around the corner. We got money to make. We got clout. We got to clap these boys up.
Clap back. Clap back. And make sure you're liking and subscribing.
Like me.